The primary application that you just submitted is just the first part of the application. We're not done yet. Next, schools will begin sending you secondary applications, which are additional essays, usually no sooner than the end of June or beginning of July, and continuing on after that. While the primary was a single application sent to dozens of schools, each secondary is specific to the school that sent it. Historically, secondaries were a good sign because it meant the school reviewed your primary and was interested enough in you to learn more. However, over the years, the selectivity cutoff for schools has become more lax, with some schools sending out secondaries to all applicants without any screening. After all, the schools are able to collect an additional fee. They'll charge you anywhere between $50 to $150 per school. And while your primary application fee went to AMCAS, the fees for secondary applications go directly to the schools. From the school's perspective, secondaries are a winning proposition. Not only can they collect, of course, additional fees, but it also helps them understand you more as an applicant by asking more targeted questions. This can help them decide if you would be a good fit for their program. Additionally, it shows them who is truly interested in their school. They know that students are receiving dozens of secondaries, and if a student fails to return a secondary in a reasonable time frame, it indicates to them that they are a lower priority school for that applicant. Because of the rolling nature of medical school admissions, just as it was important to send in your primary application as soon as possible, you want to turn around your secondaries without delay. A good guideline to follow is no more than 2 weeks after receiving it. We generally suggest you aim for 1 to 2 weeks whenever possible. While this may sound totally reasonable, understand that if you apply to 20 or 30 schools, most of them will send you secondaries around the same time, soon after your application is verified. Note that you'll likely receive additional secondaries that trickle in the following weeks. When the secondaries begin to pile up, it becomes much more difficult to abide by the 2-week recommended turnover time, particularly while maintaining a high quality across your essays. For that reason, we suggest pre-writing your secondaries. Most schools will use the same questions from the previous year or very similar questions. At times, this will change, but it's generally a good use of your time to begin anticipating the questions that you'll receive, particularly from schools that you are more interested in. We've created a free secondary essay prompts database that is continuously updated with the most recent information about a school's secondary, including not only the essay prompt, but also the fees, CASPER requirement, whether they screen applications, and much more. By pre-writing your secondaries, you'll be able to stick to the 2-week timeline without sacrificing the quality of your essays. The number of questions will vary, but expect between 2 and 8, and the length of these essays will vary greatly. There are a few common types of questions to look out for. Some will be specific to a school, and others will be more generic questions that you can recycle between schools. If you are recycling, always make sure that you proofread because you don't want to accidentally send in a different school's name. That doesn't leave a good impression. First, the why us essay. This is a very common question, and unfortunately one that many students approach suboptimally. You should not simply find their mission statement and values and restate them in your essay. You should not highlight their fantastic location and the city and how you want to live there. These responses don't tell the adcoms how you would fit there and how the school addresses your unique needs. First, research the school and understand what makes them unique. What is their mission? What are their values? This information you can find on our secondary essay prompts database. Understand what these are, but don't regurgitate them in your essay. Instead, you want to tie in your own personal experiences to what makes this school a good fit for you. You want to talk about your experiences and how they fit in with their offerings, or how you would contribute to the school, or how you would uniquely benefit from this specific program. For example, if a university is focused on underserved populations and they're very proud of their free clinic, then you may want to highlight your own interest in practicing medicine in underserved communities and tie in your previous experiences in college, volunteering at a soup kitchen, or other underserved programs. Many top-ranked institutions focus heavily on research. Rather than just talking about your own experience with research and your desire to be a future physician scientist, you can reflect on the areas of research you've pursued, why you're passionate about them, and note how Dr. So-and-so does research in a similar or related field and how you'd love the opportunity to work with him. Next, the diversity essay. This can come up in multiple ways, such as how would you contribute to the diversity at our medical school? Let's clear up a misconception. Just because you aren't a minority and don't come from a specific ethnocultural or socioeconomic background doesn't mean that you can't add diversity to a medical school class. Diversity can include anything that makes you unique or interesting, such as your unique qualities, experiences, visions, or goals. Maybe you want to use artificial intelligence to improve healthcare, or have leadership skills honed through your time in college sports teams. We suggest you focus on your unique abilities, experiences, and life story. Again, remember the importance of a strong narrative here. If you are an immigrant, you can tie in your immigration and assimilation experience, or maybe how your parents immigrated to the US and the values they instilled in you, which may have clashed with your values growing up in a bicultural environment. Regardless of how you approach the diversity essay, tie it back to how you felt, the qualities that helped you develop, what you learned, and what lessons you'll apply in your future education and career. Third, the adversity essay. This is the question about you facing a difficult or challenging situation or overcoming some obstacle. This is a very common question that you can recycle. Schools want to know how you respond to difficult situations. Medical school, after all, won't be a walk in the park. They want to see how you'll manage stress, resolve conflict, reflect on challenges, and apply the lessons you learn to your life. If you feel that your challenges or obstacles aren't big enough, remember, this is not a competition. Everyone has difficult moments in their life. Just because you didn't have the harshest upbringing doesn't mean you cannot write about overcoming challenges. It can be something as simple as letting your best friend down, facing major criticism, or situations beyond your control, like your parents getting divorced or drug abuse in a close friend. If you need help figuring out what to write about, I suggest you brainstorm a list of experiences or situations. From there, try to answer 4 questions. First, what was the challenge? Second, what was the response? Third, what was the result? And finally, what was the lesson? For example, the challenge could be a rough transition from high school to college coursework with a suboptimal freshman GPA. The response could be reflecting on your poor study habits, seeking out resources like med school insiders, professors' office hours, and reaching out to classmates to learn how to improve. The results could be a steady improvement in your class performance, deepening friendships with classmates, and a mentor-mentee relationship with professors. And finally, the lesson could be the importance of knowing how to ask for help and not being ashamed of one's weaknesses. It's better to address weaknesses than feign confidence and fake it till you make it. All right, fourth, the question about academic mishaps. This is your chance to explain the less than stellar grades that you got that one semester. Don't focus on the nitty-gritty and don't avoid taking responsibility. Now is not the time to blame other students or the teacher or how the questions weren't fair. Now is the time to take responsibility. What did you do to adapt? And what did you learn in the process? Ultimately, how did you improve your study strategies and systems? And how did you ensure that you do better in upcoming tests? The secondary application will be incredibly time-consuming, stressful, and exhausting. Many students experience a dip at this point. Push through, and you'll be rewarded with the best part of the application, the interview.